Hey guys, so sorry that the camera's a little crooked. I just finished the show and I wanted to talk a little bit more about this breaking news that just came out. YouTube decided to ban all vaccine misinformation on their platform. So they've already banned about 1 million videos related to the COVID-19 vaccine. I didn't know that, but now they're saying, well, we're also going to do it for measles, mumps, rubella, polio, and all vaccines that are approved through various health bodies throughout the world and the World Health Organization. Their argument is, hey, this is health misinformation. There are real consequences to it. People might not get the vaccines, then they'll end up dying. And basically, it's completely dangerous to just allow this stuff to flourish on the platform. Now, before we get to the policy itself, let's talk a little bit about the vaccines. I'm as pro-vaccine as it gets. There's just no way around it. I got the COVID vaccine. Literally the first day I was allowed to get the COVID vaccine, my entire family was looking for me to get an appointment to get the vaccine in New York. I've seen the data on all the other vaccines, how many countless lives, hundreds of thousands or millions of lives have been saved by all the various vaccines. I mean, they're, ironically, to say this, a godsend. They work. There's no doubt about it. The COVID vaccine, I actually have firsthand anecdotal experience with how well it works. Sagar and Jetty got COVID. He had a breakthrough case. He was mildly symptomatic. He did a show with Crystal. Crystal was 4 feet away from him for 2 hours. She should have gotten COVID, given how infectious Delta is. She didn't get it. Our speculation is, of course, that she didn't get it because she's vaccinated, and she was one of the people who just wasn't able to get it because she was vaccinated. And of course, I do Crystal Kyle. I'm friends with Crystal. I'm with her all the time. I should have gotten it because she should have gotten it from Sagar. I didn't get it. I credit that to the vaccine. Listen, anecdotes aside, put that aside. Look at the data. Over 90% protection, over 95% protection against severe illness, hospitalization, and death when it comes to any of the vaccines. In the original vaccine trials, not a single person who got the vaccine was hospitalized or died. I mean, again, this stuff is absolutely overwhelming with how well it works. Yes, there are some more breakthrough cases with the Delta variant with the vaccines, but the cases are very mild because the vaccine is doing its job and it's working. So we've seen the charts. This really is largely a pandemic of the unvaccinated. I can't say it enough. The vaccine works and you should definitely get it. It's the right thing to do. And you don't want to have one of those deathbed transitions that like the 5 or 6 conservative radio hosts, a bunch of them didn't get the vaccine, were vocal about it. Then when they were on their deathbed, they were like, oops, I should have gotten the vaccine. You don't want to be that person, so get vaccinated. Now, having said all that, this policy from YouTube is a terrible idea. What's the limiting principle? What's the limiting principle? So you say, okay, COVID-19 vaccine misinformation is dangerous. People might die as a result of it. Gotta ban all talk of, being anti-vaxxer for the COVID vaccine. Gotta ban all talk of being anti-vaccine with these other vaccines. If you're gonna do that, then of course the next logical step, and it's not even really a step, it's just gotta ban all vaccine misinformation. Or excuse me, not vaccine misinformation, all health misinformation. All health misinformation. So forget just vaccines, various medicines for various diseases. So in other words, by this logic, literally all of the field of alternative medicine should be prohibited from existing, and you shouldn't be able to discuss it on YouTube. Now, I'm a big opponent of alternative medicine. The reason it's alternative is because it's not medicine. It didn't make the cut. There's not enough evidence for it to work. So I'm against alternative medicine. But would I ban all talk of alternative medicine? Of course not. See, the idea here is, well, it needs to be proven and the official authorities need to say this is the right path in order for it to be accepted. I got news for you guys. The world is a complex place. It's not black and white. There's massive gray area. There was just a story that came out a few months ago in one of the big outlets, New York Times, Washington Post, someplace like that, where they talked about how there's this Alzheimer drug that the evidence shows it doesn't work, but then it was approved by the FDA. What? Now, why is that? Look, there's a lot of corruption in our system. I don't know the specifics of that story, but there are plenty of examples of weird, corrupt deals and legalized bribery. In many instances, the FDA is funded by the same pharmaceutical companies they're supposed to be regulating. So if the FDA says, hey, all of this medicine is good, well, should I trust them 100% of the time? No. Like, again, don't get it twisted. The COVID-19 vaccine works. It's the right thing to do. But is literally everything the FDA says, or the CDC says, or the World Health Organization, is all of it true across the board 100% of the time? Of course not, because we're all humans. We're all biased. We're all fallible. There are institutional problems with the funding with a lot of those places. Early on in the pandemic, they got a million things wrong. And now we're supposed to say everything they put out there is gospel and you should ban anybody who doesn't toe the line on that stuff. It's crazy. And guys, it starts with, okay, just ban Alex Jones. And it's like, okay, well, there are these other political figures who are bad, so maybe ban them or deprioritize them. Does that sound familiar? And then now you have, well, COVID vaccine misinformation, ban it. All vaccine misinformation, ban it. All medical misinformation, ban it, as if there's not gray areas in that, and as if we already have all the answers on that. Where does it end? Where does it end? I guarantee you, if these social media platforms existed back during the lead up to the Iraq War, they would have banned everybody saying Saddam Hussein doesn't have weapons of mass destruction and he's not a threat to the United States. That was the minority position. You were called a conspiracy theorist if you took that position. That's the thing they would have banned. They wouldn't have banned the thing where people were saying he has weapons of mass destruction. There are plenty of conspiracies that are true. It's a fact. Many of them are wrong, but many of them are true. Operation Northwoods, Bay of Pigs, the Tuskegee experiments, the list goes on and on. So if you talked about those conspiracies back when they happened with this same censorious mindset, they would have banned you, because only the official narrative is the one that, is allowed. Now, again, I want to reiterate, sometimes the official narrative is actually accurate. Sometimes. Sometimes it's wrong. And guys, the whole idea behind the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, it's an Enlightenment idea. It's a civilized society idea that you have to allow the conversation and the dialogue and the free speech, and that's all we have. You can't just say anything I don't like or anything that I think is dangerous is wrong. Who's going to watch The Watchmen? There are no perfectly objective philosopher kings who will get everything right. Who's going to watch The Watchmen? And so now we come full circle to my story. You guys all know this if you've been listening to the show for a long time. Back during Adpocalypse, there was like a Nestle ad that ran on some white nationalist channel. And what was YouTube's response? Defund all of news and politics overnight. You're going to trust those people to determine what medical information should and shouldn't be allowed? They don't know what they're doing. My channel, what do we talk about on my channel? All the time we talk about Saudi Arabia and Israel and corruption and a variety of controversial issues. And as a result of that, we know for sure my channel is deprioritized in the algorithm. And it's harder for new people to come across my content. Why? Because YouTube has determined that's a little too risky, that's a little too out there. We don't know what this guy's gonna say. He's an independent voice and an independent thinker, and maybe he'll get something wildly wrong. We don't want all the advertisers to flee because of this asshole Kyle running his mouth. So just deprioritize him and hide him and push him to the corner. This is what you're agreeing to if you keep allowing YouTube to censor stuff, to deplatform stuff, to deprioritize stuff. They're gonna structure your viewing experience to be the most stale, banal, acceptable stuff ever. Everybody went to YouTube to get away from the stupid CNN commentary, MSNBC commentary, Fox News commentary, boring stuff. And now, what's YouTube trying to do? Just make YouTube like CNN, like MSNBC, like Fox News. Like, that's what they're trying to do. And so we suffer as a result of it. I've experienced this stuff firsthand. Other independent new media people have experienced it firsthand. It's disastrous. It's devastating. It is absolutely true that the COVID-19 vaccine works, that the other vaccines work, and it's also true that we have a plethora of evidence that you do not want Silicon Valley oligarch billionaires controlling U.S. political discourse and dialogue. They're biased. They're fallible. They have their own problems and their own issues. They're not going to get everything right. Nobody's going to get everything right. Stop trying to micromanage the dialogue. Listen, I'll take on anti-vaxxers and I'll debate them directly and I'll make the case for the vaccine. But you can't just censor and kick off everything you don't like, because it started with the COVID-19 vaccine, and then it goes to all vaccines, then it's going to go to all medical stuff, then it's going to go to political stuff that's viewed as out of bounds. And guess what? I'm on the chopping block, and so are a lot of you. Because we all think what we believe is obvious and correct and good and just, but there are plenty of people out there who would look at libertarian socialists and put them in the same category as fascists, and a lot of those people are in the establishment. And they're the ones who are going to get to control what you can see and what you can't see. So it's not that difficult a position to take. The vaccines are correct, the vaccines work, but also you shouldn't have Silicon Valley oligarch billionaires micromanaging the political discourse in the United States of America. We really need an internet bill of rights. I'm sorry, but Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, all the big ones, should be regulated as public utilities, and there should be the expansion of the First Amendment, so that the only times there can be any real action is if there's a direct threat of violence, or if there's doxing, or if there's, harassment. Only the most clear examples, okay, that's not allowed. But you gotta allow everything else. There's no way around it, because once you open that door, there is no little bit of censorship based on content or politics. It's never gonna end. And what you're gonna have at the very end of this is everybody's Wolf Blitzer. And what a terrible world that would be. Because guess what? They might pretend like, well, Wolf Blitzer gets everything right. Not only is he super boring, he also doesn't get everything right. Not even close to getting everything right. So I totally despise this move from YouTube. I think it's terrible. And I think we have a future of way more censorship and deplatforming and deprioritizing coming. And independent voices, not just on the right, but also on the left, are going to be the victims of that. And we're already seeing the effects of it now.